Hi, this is Pete from HauntBots. I'd like to take a few moments today to discuss troubleshooting communication issues, little problems that can occur to prevent the programming console software from successfully communicating to one of our APC controllers. What you want to do actually is you want to examine the properties of your COM port in Device Manager. Now, depending on which operating system you're using, which version of Windows, whether it's XP or Vista or Windows 7, there's slightly different ways to get into Device Manager. But if you've got the computer icon on your desktop or My Computer, one of the quickest ways is to just right-click on that, go down to Properties, and then again, depending on whether you're in Windows 7 or XP, you may see some tabs on the screen, but basically we're trying to get to Device Manager. And when you go in there, about 2/3 of the way down, typically you're going to see an entry where it says ports, COM, and LPT. If you expand that, you're going to see any COM ports that are attached to your computer. Now, your computer may have several. It may only have the APC attached. In the event that it has several, the important thing is to know which one of those COM ports is actually the one that's communicating with your controller. So if you're not completely sure, one of the things you can do is just unplug the cable from your controller and see which COM port goes away. Now again, we only have one COM port on this computer, so when I unplug the controller, it wants to go away. But there we have it. We have our COM 8. So we'll double click on that, go in, and there's some information about the manufacturer of the interface and things like that here, but we want to go to Port Settings, and you want to go into Advanced. And there's a number of things you can actually change here. The first is the COM port number. Now here the computer has assigned COM 8 in this case. Any COM port between 1 and 16 is usable by the programming console software. If it's not, you can just go down through this list and change it to another number. Further down here, we actually want to check and change, if necessary, these values for the USB transfer size. We want these set as low as possible. So you may see that they come in at 4096, something like that by default. We want them down at their lowest, 64, for both receive and transmit. We want our latency set as low as possible, so we're going to go for the 1 millisecond, and these timeouts should be set to 0. So you want to go and verify that you have those settings made. Click OK, close the rest of these windows, and then you can actually go in and try the programming console. It's going to open up, and it's going to say awaiting connection. And depending on which controller you're actually attached to, it may take longer, it may take less, but there we've actually successfully communicated with this controller. We know that because it no longer says awaiting connection down here. It actually says show number 1. It tells us what our frame rate is. It's telling us the firmware that is in the controller, and by virtue of this icon, we know we have either a wave runner attached or a built-in sound device. So we are successfully talking to the controller. Now, what happens? Say you start this up and you're just sitting there waiting connection. One of the things you want to do is go up into Setup, go into COM port, and verify that the COM port that the programming console is using is actually the COM port that you saw in Device Manager. For more troubleshooting tips and tricks, software, drivers, and online manuals, please visit our support forums by following the link below.